this way.
So shifting gears here, big other topic that is very much in the news around that you guys are focused on in the Department of Transportation has been the issue of illegal aliens driving trucks in America. We've been seeing the blue states out there like California, Washington State handing out CDLs to illegal aliens, people in the country illegally, non-citizens, and there have been a number of incidents in the last month or so where these folks have crashed and killed Americans. There were at least two that I've seen. You guys released a bombshell explosive report about California and Governor Newsom not following the law about this. Can you give us the latest on what has happened with regard to this issue and how you guys are reining in states like California on this?
So there's two issues. There's non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. Let me first talk about English proficiency. That was the first issue we came out with. There's a long-standing rule. We didn't create this rule in this administration. It's been here for decades. You have to be proficient in the English language, speaking and then understanding road signs. Pretty common sense for a commercial driver. In the Obama administration, they basically switched the penalty to be a slap on the wrist. No real penalty if you can't speak the language. We went back to the pre-Obama change and would take vehicles out of service, which is very complicated for a company if you're taking their vehicles out of service. We went back to the old rule. One of the problems we have is California was the only state that, in essence, have told their law enforcement officers not to enforce English proficiency rules. Now, that California driver who's not proficient in English, if they drive in Oklahoma and get pulled over, they're like, aha, well, listen, he was pulled over in California. They didn't do anything, but obviously he can't speak the language. So California's not enforcing the rules. So we pulled $40 million from California because of that. The second issue is a non-domiciled CDL. So what does that mean? The rule, this was set up so if, again, I'm from Wisconsin, I want to go to Texas, I'm not domiciled in Texas, but I want to get a Texas commercial driver's license. I could come from Wisconsin where I'm a resident, I could go to Texas and I could get a commercial driver's license in Texas, and it's all legal and it's made for Americans going from state to state. Well, like many good rules, this was contorted and abused, and now you see foreigners coming into the country and getting non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses. It was not intended for them, but that's how the law was contorted. So these commercial driver's licenses were issued like states in California, like in California, where if I'm here, I'm a foreigner, my work permit lasts until the end of this year. California would issue them a commercial driver's license maybe that expires 2 years after their work permit. That's an incentive to stay in the country longer, number one. But two, there's no justification to give them I don't know what their status is going to be, after the end of this year. Yeah. So a lot of them were issued illegally, number one. Number two, some of them weren't here legally at all. So you have an illegal in the country that should actually, when they come into the DMV, they should be deported. Instead, they were given a commercial driver's license. And again, this is our big rigs, but they can also, they can drive hazardous materials, they can drive school buses. Incredibly problematic. And so the country has been flooded with these kind of drivers. It has decimated a lot of our this is not why we're doing it, but it truly has decimated the American truck driver. Where it used to be a good living you could make. Not any longer.
I'll tell you, we hear from truckers all the time because we host radio, and a lot of them are listening to satellite radio around the country. I get calls every Saturday morning from at least a handful of truckers around the country, and it has been going on for years, where they are raising these exact issues, particularly the English proficiency issue.
And they're happy now we're addressing it. The president has said, make sure we follow the intent of the laws, and that's what we're doing. So basically, we told every state, you can't issue any more of these non-domiciled CDLs, these foreigner CDLs. So they have stopped. But then we said, you have to go back and review for the ones you've illegally issued. And a lot of states have been willing to comply. Again, California has been unwilling. So there's additional money we can pull from them. At one point, we can pull their authority to even issue commercial driver's licenses. Now, I don't want to fight with Gavin Newsom. I just want them to comply. You want people to be safe. right? And if you see these crashes, it is truly problematic. You want well-trained individuals on American roadways, and I don't think we feel like that's necessarily the case after some of these rogue states.
Right. So now the latest has been that you guys put out this really a bombshell report about how California hasn't followed the laws on this in the lead up to this horrific incident. But can you tell us kind of what's next on the horizon on this? What is the next stages here with Governor Newsom? And by the way, is Governor Newsom, because he didn't follow the laws here, is he responsible for those deaths, or like?
It's California as a whole. Right now, I don't think you're going to be able to sue Gavin Newsom, but so we gave California 30 days to comply, and they've all stopped. They're not issuing new licenses. Have they complied and going to review what we think is a substantial thousands of illegally issued driver's licenses on the commercial driver front? I'm not sure whether they've done that or not. But they've blatantly said we're not going to enforce the English proficiency rules. Again, this is not. If people come in the country illegally, there's a whole debate you could have, which I'm on. You probably know the side that I'm on. On border security and what we should do with people who are here illegally. This is not that debate. This is a debate about safety. This is about making sure you have well-trained commercial drivers on our roads. We have a lot of these drivers that are going through CDL mills, commercial driver license mills. And again, if you're going to get tested and go through a school and you can't speak English, that might be a flag to go, you probably shouldn't go, I shouldn't refer you over to the DMV to get a driver's license. Or if you go get your physical, the nurse or doctor that gives you your physical, if you can't speak English, that's also a flag to be like, hey, maybe I'm not going to pass this person. Yeah. The system is set up to pass these people through. And then the DMV in California is giving them the commercial driver's license. This is a safety issue, and you've seen, it's not just one, multiple crashes on our American roadways that are horrific, that should never happen. And so I'm not engaging in the debate, which I have an opinion on, of illegals here. This is a debate about, do I want to keep Americans safe on American roadways? That's the conversation that Gavin Newsom is refusing to have, because I don't know if he thinks it's good politics. I would argue it is not.
Right. So now the other incident that I mentioned there, this happened in Florida, where there was again an illegal alien in the country, got a CDL during the Biden administration, but they got their CDL in Washington State. And that came only after failing the test 10 different times before they finally got the CDL. So how do we fix that CDL mill issue that you're talking about there, where they're just churning these people out in the blue states like that?
We're going to go after them, right? We're going to go after these CDL mills. But this is an interesting space. Maybe you're all bored about this. It's really important, I think, to do this right. And it gets to be really complicated really quickly. And we're trying to navigate and take the right amount of time to address all of these problems. There's the issue of cabotage. You can come from Mexico and you can drop a load in the U.S. And then the rule is you have to go back to Mexico. What's happening, though, is that Mexican truck and driver are picking up multiple loads thereafter and driving throughout the country, doing deliveries, and then going back to Mexico. And by the way, that's taking jobs away from American truck drivers. They shouldn't be doing this. Well, it gets to be complicated to figure out who these drivers are. AI can be very helpful to us on, if you drive in, you drop, when should you be coming back through customs? If you come back 5 days later, ding, 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 we might have a problem. But no one's used these tools, and no one's focused on it, no one's cared. We actually care about this and are working through the issues to resolve the problems.
Okay, so now shifting gears here again, deregulation. You guys have taken a number of historic steps during your time as Secretary. I believe you've done $1.3 billion in deregulation. Can you kind of lay out for us how you've saved taxpayers' money on this? What are the major things that you're going after, how you're doing it? Walk us through the...
Just name a couple. This is not in the list, but we have the California high-speed rail, the rail to nowhere. By the way, I want high-speed rail in America. I think if Europe and Asia can have it, I think America should have it too. But the California high-speed rail was never going to be built. It was billions and billions of dollars over budget, and it was, decades overdue. We pulled that money. Speed limiters for trucks, another example, where again, I think that's a safety issue with taking out the speed limiters. We're about to announce CAFE. CAFE is going to be, I think, the largest dereg that comes in the federal government as a whole. And it was going to drive down the cost of a vehicle because, again, a 50-mile-an-hour efficiency standard is unattainable for a combustion engine. And so we were driving up the cost and the carbon credit purchases for American car companies, getting rid of that and having a more sound mile per gallon threshold is going to, again, allow us to sell more cars and allow us to bring down the cost of a car, to the tune of thousands of dollars. But I think we have 150 regulations that we've worked on rolling back, and not for the sense of just rolling regulation back because we think that's great and people make more money. We think that we could roll regulation back, maintain safety, increase efficiency, and a lot of these rules are just stupid.
Okay, so the last big thing I want to really talk to you about here is prices. Obviously, we just saw the elections in New York City, in Virginia, and in New Jersey, and the big talk is that Democrats are talking about affordability. It's like, I don't know where they've been on this for years, but anyway, point is that was the big talking point around Mamdani's victory there. Yeah. I think that the steps you guys are taking are designed to try to bring prices down, right? The transportation affects everything with regard to prices. So can you talk to us about how President Trump's administration more broadly and also the steps you guys are taking at the Department of Transportation are designed to bring prices down and combat inflation?
Well, at a 30,000-foot level, when you have more rules and regulations, that costs more money. Prices go up. If you spend more money or print more money, you deflate the value of the dollar. That causes inflation. That causes prices to go up. We've tried to spend less money and not reduce, again, not reduce all regulations, but reduce dumb regulations and dumb rules. That's been the policy across the board, and I think the consequence of that will be that you will see prices come down. But if you're 26 years old and you look at the cost of a car, you look at the cost of housing, and you think, am I ever going to? My parents bought a house at 32 years old. When I'm 32, I can't buy a house. That's a huge problem in America. You want people to be able to afford the American dream. And so what are we doing on housing policy? What are we doing to, again, I want people to buy safe homes. What can we do, though, to alleviate some of the pressure around the regulations that will allow us to build good, safe homes that someone can afford and start their American dream? And I want people to have kids. I have 9 kids, by the way. I think kids are great. Kids are a lot of fun. Kids will give you joy throughout your life, and maybe a little bit of pain, too. I don't know. But kids are great. But if you can't buy a house, how do you have family formation, and how do you have kids? Some of the most joyful things in life can't happen unless you can afford some of these basics as you start your families. And so working on bringing the home prices down. If we can work on bringing the price of a car down. If the president is successful, and I think he will be, at bringing back more jobs. Bringing back more jobs means more competition for labor, which means we can have an elevation in salaries and not affect the competitiveness of our companies because we don't have to spend as much on rules and regulations. Can I tell you guys a quick story? So I was in Wausau, Wisconsin in 2018. Great town, by the way. And I went to I went to Walmart. And I was trying to buy a Roku. I'm not very tech savvy. I bought a Roku, and the guy helped me buy a Roku. Had no idea how to help me. He just walked in the door. It was not helpful at all. Frustrating. And I told you I have a lot of kids, so I don't do 2 carts, but I pack my cart really well strategically as I go through Walmart and get all this food in one cart. And I'm going through the checkout line, and it's taking forever to get to the checkout line. The lady does it's literally slowly moving, and it took me forever to get through. I was going out to my car and I was pissed. I'm like, what the hell? What a crappy service. And then as I was, loading my stuff up, I thought, you know what happened actually? The people that used to work at Walmart that were well trained, they've been pulled out of Walmart into a different job in Wausau. And this is a new group of people who have come in because of new opportunity, because there were so many jobs available, so many